Well, the word artist is a tricky word. It's a bit like the word genius and the word celebrity. They're so overused, I don't know what they mean anymore. Um, Everybody has their own definition of what an artist is, including, the person who combs your poodle is an artist, and I don't know what the word means anymore. So I have my own definition. It's the only one I can really work with, and that's I reserve it as a qualitative term. If you've done a body of work that has created the language or contributed to the creation of the language, and very few people do that, then I kind of call them artists, because that sort of means something to me. The rest of the time, I tend to just describe people in what they do. They're painters, or they're illustrators, or they're sculptors, or because that seems to mean something. So I'm an illustrator. I haven't created the language of comics or painting or anything like that, but I hope to use those tools and those that syntax to create my own work. And if the definition of artist is somebody who just does, their own work, what they want to do, well, that's what I do. I write my own books and I do my own books, and I'm very happy just doing my own work. But I'm not kidding myself that it's art.
Some people don't want to hear about it, but Michelangelo was a fantastic illustrator. Leonardo da Vinci was a fantastic illustrator. They illustrated the Bible. They illustrated the all this poetry and other things that other people had come up with, and they enhanced it to the point of where the modern mind can't separate the two, and it's become art. It's no longer illustration.
Illustrators very deliberately use this vocabulary of, all the traditional artists' techniques like perspective, the use of values to show where light is falling, getting the anatomy. Now, even if they're stretching the anatomy and distorting it, they're working on the basis of knowing how a body lies, so that you can understand that what they're showing you is a distortion. So there's a whole, again, sort of a vocabulary of what we understand to be, maybe the word is realism, as to what the artist is trying to show. So that's the sort of assumed level of how illustrations are made. And it's a very different kind of set of assumptions from fine art, where it's really kind of like whatever's in the artist's head.
When I painted for myself, I would have a rough idea of what I wanted first the painting to feel like, what I wanted in the painting. I wasn't sure what colors I was going to use, but I would start right on the canvas, and the painting would start to develop. And it wasn't a matter of me controlling the painting, of saying, okay, I'm going to beat you into shape, this is what I want, you're not doing it. I would listen to the painting. Sometimes it would tell me what to do. Very much like when an author says characters take on a life of their own. And so the painting and I had, in essence, a kind of a conversation, a visual conversation back and forth, and would end up with something that was right.
If you look at a Zen master calligrapher, a guy of 80 years old who can spend all morning grinding his ink and then takes the pen and he makes his few marks, and people are awestruck by the simplicity and beauty of it. It's all very well somebody who's been doing it for 80 years doing something that nonchalantly. It's quite another thing, somebody 1 year out of art school thinking they're going to blow the world away with their nonchalant mark if they put no training in, no thought. Come on. It's not that easy. Art is like being a musician. You have to put in the time.
Young artists who are looking at examples of people who have a long shadow they've cast, like Jeff and Frank Miller, different people that you see like, wow, I really want to be like that guy. To really understand that you it doesn't come easy, and you have to be disciplined, and you have to work, and you got to put the time in. And if you can do it, go to school, because you have to have the widest possible humanistic education. You need to understand science. You need to understand whatever modicum of chemistry you can understand. You have to know that. You have to know history, and then really be a universal man to bring that stuff to the table in order to make your comics, know how to do your research, know your process. And sometimes it does give me a little bit of a fret to talk to young artists who ask for shortcuts to the solutions that really there is no shortcut.
It's one of those things that has to be nurtured and worked on. So I would do a drawing, people say, you do that in 10 minutes, and I'm 10 minutes in 40 years. There's been a lot of hard work that goes into getting better or creating, it's like an idea of having a language skill, that the better you can become at doing the artwork and the actual technical aspects of it, the more you can convey information and communicate.
Generally, a good artist can do something very strong and all his life with a small techniques, but very strongly together and very focused.
Art is not only about technique, but without technique, it doesn't exist.
I mix my darks. I'll use transparent oils like alizarin crimson, Indian yellow, sap green, ultramarine. Mix them and use them as my dark. And I also found that if I tried to use black in a painting and I'm working wet in wet, when the black meets another color, it turns dead gray. But if I mix my darks out of a colors, when it meets another color, you don't get that dead gray. You get another color.
I feel like being an artist and drawing and everything, it's a process. It's something that you start, you push the snowball off the hill and it just keeps rolling, and it rolls forever. And you don't come to a place where the snowball stops. And you don't come to a place where you say, okay, I've been working all these years and I've had all this experience and this is as good as I ever get.
Tend to get a sort of a first generation of artists in a specific field who will come through and they will change and they will do things and they'll move on and they'll do something else and they'll move on and do something else. You tend to get a sort of second run of people who will come in and do the same thing. Do it incredibly competently. Do it for their entire career. Have a huge and solid, and in many cases more solid career out of doing the same kind of paintings, taking a certain type of realism and applying it to comics or whatever. But they also tend to be kind of uninteresting, because when you've seen 2 or 3 paintings and you can be very excited at the beginning, but you realize you really have seen them all, and you've probably seen them all for the entirety of that person's career. And when they're 60, they'll still be doing the same kind of paintings.
At some point, I started getting really comfortable and having fun with what I was doing. And I started drawing a little bit more strangely. Figures got bigger, figures got blockier. I spent less time drawing anatomy. And it was all, as an artist, it was kind of a maturing process as I was kind of developing, feeling more comfortable with the way I drew. And I remember bringing in pages for a Superman book and having an editor say, "Oh, that's getting kind of weird." He didn't make me redo it, but he did say, "Just be aware that that's starting to be the outer edge of not acceptable, but just realize that you're going someplace, and you might want to kind of rein that in." And I didn't. I just kind of once I started liking the way I was drawing, I just wanted to draw like that.
Very talented means a lot of things. It means a skill with a certain in a certain area, and it means a drive. It means a certain ruthlessness, where the work counts for more than other things. And it means a willingness, I think, probably to put yourself out there and just, I mean, it takes courage.
You can line up 100 painters or 100 writers, and some of them will be technically better than others, but the others will give you the world the way they see it. And that is the magic that lets some people fly while other people are walking.
My life, and I will do what I want to. Act like I want to, I don't want to be like you. Every time you see me, you want to criticize me, antagonize me, only God can judge.